President of the Caucus of Young Democrats in the state, Zach Finley. And the chairperson of the North Carolina Democratic Hispanic Caucus lives here in Salisbury, Adrian Maldonado, but their board meeting is right now. So that's why Adrian isn't here. But while I'm speaking of young Hispanics, some of you who saw the paper knew that last night there may or may not have been a gathering of folks just lifting up Hispanics and the fear that is being sent through their community regarding deportation. There were about 75 or 80 primarily young people who turned up for that demonstration. I wasn't one of the young people. But it was a very peaceful gathering, and they gathered at Bell Tower Green and then walked down Church Street and over in front of the county building, where they cheered anybody who drove by on Innis Street waving a Mexican flag. It was kind of a noisy gathering. It went well. We need to commend the Salisbury Police Department, who were aware that they were planning this demonstration, and they knew that the Confederate-type folks were trolling the information that was put up online, and so I saw at least 10 different officers of the Salisbury Police Department. I'd been at a meeting earlier on a Wednesday, and they were well aware that things were going on and that threats were coming. So, that's a start. And I got the information from the young woman who did the organizing. So we will continue a relationship with them as we move forward. Okay. Announcements. Senior Democrats meet on February 18th. That's Tuesday. It's always the third Tuesday at 1 o'clock. You got 4 fingers. Okay, you can raise 3 of them. Third Tuesday, and then pop your little pinky, and it's at 1 o'clock. Now our
Thank you, Jeffrey.
I do that for myself. I remember a long time ago that they called me one of the young Turks, and now I'm just an old. But we can still raise a stink. Okay. Okay. And the topic is Mis- and Disinformation. Dylan Roney from Cardinal and Pine, which is an independent news agency, will be our speaker that day. So y'all come. Really, I think the official definition of a senior Democrat is 50 or older, but anybody younger, I bless when they come through the door, and so you all come. Growing out of the Senior Democrats meeting will be a book discussion on tyranny. You may have seen the book. Alyssa, here's Alyssa. How many copies do you have at the bookstore?
Somewhere in this number right now, but more are coming.
Okay, so she's got them on. But by the way, Alyssa runs Main Street Bookstore. And she had the guts to run for county commission this last year. Oh, wow. And if you don't have the book or haven't read it, please come anyway, because where's Keith Townsend? Keith? Over where? There's Keith. And Keith is a retired high school teacher, knows exactly what it's like to have a class full of people who haven't read the assignment. Okay, that's Tuesday the 25th. Seniors are on the 18th. That's third Tuesday. The fourth Tuesday is the 25th at 1:30. At 1:30. So you all come, and Keith will lead that. Now, coming in March, people ask me, well, what can we do? What can we do? Etc. One of the key things that we must do as Democrats is organize. Toward the latter half of March, we do what we call organizing in smaller groups around the county. Those are called precincts, okay? You will be given information about where meetings will be for where you live and get to know Democrats where you live. You will be invited, and that means we put together structure, and without structure we can't have power. And we're here to get the power so that we can do some more changing here in Rowan County and the state for that matter. Okay, and I'm told that there's a common cause gathering at the museum next Sunday afternoon regarding Allison Riggs and this horrendous situation where the Republicans don't think that if you win, you win. That sounds kind of strange, doesn't it? If you have the most votes, somehow or other you don't win. But at any rate, Common Cause is sponsoring or standing behind the demonstration next Sunday. You don't have to worry, Super Bowl will be over. Next Sunday, 1:30 at the Rowan Museum steps. That's 202 North Main Street. Okay. Next month, organizing. Oh, any other announcements to share? AAUW have something up their sleeve? Yes, there was an announcement. Dr. Childs, Board of Education. Give her another hand.
So it's so great to see you here. I would love to see you in the boardroom. School board meetings are open to the public, and unfortunately, I can count on less than one hand how many will show up. So if you are available, especially the fourth Monday of the month, that second and fourth Mondays at 4:30, I would so love to see you there. Remember that our students are not just part of our community, but they're also our future leaders and our legacy. So it's so important, whether you have kids or grandkids in the system or not. Just be there, be a presence, let them know that you care and that you care about what's going on in our schools. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay, Rebecca, will you please do a brief announcement in Spanish for us?
Las reuniones están abiertas al público el segundo y cuarto lunes al mes a las 4:30. Por favor, que vengan, porque los niños son nuestro legado y también los líderes del futuro.
Thank you very much. All right. Okay, and AAUW? Go.
AAUW, which is the American Association of University Women, is having a Black History Month celebration, and it's this coming Monday at 6:30 at the main library, and the speaker is going to talk about the history of women in stamps. Very interesting history. So come, everybody's welcome. It's open to the public. You don't have to be a woman. You don't have to have a university background. Just come and find out more about, yes.
Who is the speaker?
That's what I can't remember.
Mary Love from
Mary Love from
Hood Seminary.
Oh, okay, from Hood Seminary. Okay, thank you. Mary Love. 6:30 Monday.
Okay, thank you. Any other announcements to share? Okay, there's a young woman here who wants to say something. She's pretty good at saying things. You've heard her say things on MSNBC, NBC, CBS, PBS, and where else have you? Probably every other little radio station that would do it where she could worm her way in. Anderson Clayton of the North Carolina Democratic Party. Well, she won, and we won too. Thank you. Go ahead.
I don't know another county party in the state that has got such a consistent turnout for their monthly breakfast every single month, and I know that is because you've got very strong leadership and consistent leadership here in this county. So to my board members here in Rowan County for the Democratic Party, Jeffrey Hoy, and all the folks that help him do this work, thank you all so much. Can we give them a round of applause? also got some new faces in the house. So hello to everybody that may not have been a part of a Democratic breakfast before, may not have come to one of these gatherings, but you may be here right now because you're just trying to find community. You may be turning to a space because you feel alone and you feel like the world around you has let you down. And I know after November, we all could feel that way. And especially after the last 2 weeks of seeing what this administration has been able to railroad through, we can still consistently feel that way. And I understand right now that a lot of people are looking around and saying, where is our leadership? Where is our party? Where are our people? And I hope you see them right here in the room around you. Because what I'm telling folks right now is that the national level and Republicans that are trying to railroad through and trying to flood the zone with information and with executive orders that are, quite frankly, illegal and are going to be worked out in our court system, that President Biden had given us so many appointees to this last year and throughout his term as president, that is going to be one of the avenues that we are able to stop bad pieces of legislation from coming to fruition and executive orders from taking place, and that we need to utilize that. We also have got to look to the ground, because where we are going to see the most protection come out of in our state and in our party right now is going to come from the local and state level. What we've seen from November and from North Carolina being a bright spot, even though we had a red wave hit the nation, we had Democrats that won at the statewide level. We flipped 2 Council of State seats from red to blue. We were the only state in the country that flipped a statewide seat from red to blue, and we didn't just do 1, we did 2, y'all. And one of those people being the fantastic Mo Green, who is our new state superintendent to defend educators across this state. So thank you to my school board member who is here, and also to the folks that are going to show up at those school board meetings and help make sure that we are prioritizing what the state legislature has been defunding, which is the #1 economic driver in rural communities right now, like Rowan County, our public school system, y'all. It's what's created the opportunity for North Carolina to be a state that is not called the Rip Van Winkle state anymore. It's not the state that was asleep at the wheel. And I know I've got some heads in the crowd that remember when North Carolina was framed that way and know the history of the Democratic Party in North Carolina and what we have been able to do here. We made North Carolina called the New South for a long time. And we did that through hard investment in our state legislature. And right now, we were able to break a Republican supermajority in that state legislature, even though we had gerrymandered maps that were worse drawn right than the ones in 2022 and in 2020, to be honest with y'all. We did that this year because so many people came together, not just Democrats. I like to say Dems and friends, because I know I've got unaffiliated folks and Republicans maybe in this house too right now who may not find themselves saying, I want to wear the brand of the party, but I want to be part of something that thinks about the communities that are represented right now across North Carolina. And that is not reflected in the Republican Party right now, who spent their last days with a supermajority in our state legislature prioritizing stripping powers away from our Democratic governor, our incoming Democratic AG, our incoming Democratic lieutenant governor, our incoming Democratic superintendent of schools. That's what they spent their time doing. Instead of addressing the needs of the hurricane that had just hit and ravaged Western North Carolina and the needs of small business owners out there, they chose to prioritize taking away power and restricting it from the voters that just gave those folks that power. We're seeing a legislature right now that doesn't understand and doesn't respect the people in this room. And I don't know about y'all, but I may be very depressed about what's happening at the national level right now. But I know where my fight needs to be at this moment in time, and it is on the ground in places like Rowan County, but also in our state legislature in Raleigh right now, folks. And when you all look to where you can actually have power and where you can, it is looking at races like Justice Allison Riggs right now. For those of you that haven't been following that race closely, you know, Jefferson Griffin, who's the Republican that sits on the Court of Appeals currently, that just can't take the fact that he lost an election. He's a sort of loser. And it's been counted now 3 times, and by one state court that has said no. But Jefferson Griffin tried to go around a regular court proceeding, right? He tried to file a thing called a writ of prohibition. And I've gotten a JD in the last 2 months, in case anybody wanted to know about this race. In the sense of what I have learned about court proceeding, right? That is, I'm just kidding. There's no shade to my lawyers in the house. I know it takes a lot to earn a JD, and y'all do a lot of good work. And God bless the ones that we have working for us in every way on this court fight right now. But just to say, this writ of prohibition, right, that he filed was supposed to be his way of circumventing the Superior Court in Wake County. Because he said, man, That Superior Court's got some Democrats on it. That Superior Court's got some people that may actually think they want to uphold the rule of law on it, and I don't want to have to go through them first. And so the Supreme Court decided to bop that back down, and they at least said Jefferson Griffin's got to go through the right procedure, the right way to try to steal this election. Wake County Superior Court said yesterday that this was unconstitutional and decided they were not going to hear Jefferson Griffin's 3 complaints anymore and denied them, right? That was a win for the voters in North Carolina. We also know, though, that Jefferson Griffin is going to appeal that to the Court of Appeals, which is a Republican-dominated court in North Carolina as well right now. We've been prepared for that fight, which is also why you see in federal court the state board of elections that has taken, and the DOJ that appealed to Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals recently too, because we are also in federal court with these decisions. The Fourth Circuit Court of Appeal ruled that while they want to make sure that the state court is able to have their say in this, there is still a level for us to appeal to the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. That's good for Democrats because the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals has already decided on a decision like this before, and it has made the case that HAVA voters should be protected. They should not be voters that are allowed to be thrown out. For those of you that don't understand what these challenges are right now that we're seeing with Allison Riggs and the type of voters that are being challenged, in 2002, when we had 9/11 unfortunately happen the year before, the federal government passed a piece of legislation called the Help Americans Vote Act. The Help Americans Vote Act required anybody to have their social security number, the last 4 digits, or their driver's license number listed with their voter registration form. Anybody that was registered before 2002, though, got grandfathered into this program, right? And got grandfathered into being a voter in the state of North Carolina. We have gone back and forth being under Republican and Democratic governors in that amount of time that have also had control of our state board of elections. This has never been a problem beforehand that they have brought up and they've challenged on. Donald Trump in 2020 utilized this method as the playbook to be able to challenge elections across the state and across the country, right? And what we're seeing right now is the Trump playbook trying to be presented in North Carolina state courts right now. They are testing how can they steal elections and how can they get votes thrown out that are legal votes and that have been under federal and state law for the last decade, but that now are being challenged because they are something that they can utilize to win their elections in an unfair way. North Carolina is not the only state in the country, though, that has these voters. And that is why we are looking at the fact that there are so many eyes on our state again right now in this year, because we know that whatever happens with this lawsuit is the ability for Republicans to come back in any other state and challenge these type of voters. North Carolina is on the front lines. We are the petri dish for the Republican Party right now, trying to figure out what can they do to do this. And I hope you understand that we've always been that state. We have always been the test zone for bad Republican pieces of legislation, for how far they can push extremism and how far they can go to change the branches of government that we have in North Carolina. Now, I know that's depressing. And I know everything I just said and how fast I said it. People are like, what? What is happening in our state right now, Anderson? What I can tell you is that we're doing every single thing that we possibly can to make sure that that doesn't happen. And every single one of you in this room have made that possible. And I know sometimes being from a rural county like Rowan, it's hard to see how do we fit into the bigger picture of this party. Allison Riggs winning this race by 734 votes is because of every single bit of the work that y'all did in this county this year to talk to people about the candidates that we had on the ballot and the fact that we wanted to elect more public servants into office than we did politicians right now. That's because of people in Rowan County. And I think my candidates too that ran this last cycle and maybe weren't successful, but that decided that it was worth putting up a fight and worth holding people accountable that haven't represented your communities for a long time, because that's just as important to me. And it's also something as rural Democrats, to be honest with y'all, we know something about losing an election. I'm from Person County and an R+20 county too, right? We don't normally win them out there either, but it is about putting up the fight every single time, and that's what Democrats in this state have done. And when we hold this seat with Justice Allison Riggs, regardless of how long they keep us in court for it, and with it, we are still going to prevail in this fight, and we are going to make sure that we keep a Democratic justice on this Supreme Court. But we are also going to hold Justice Anita Earls' seat on the Supreme Court this upcoming year in 26. We are going to take our courts back in 2028, and that involves taking 3 Republican-held seats right now on the Supreme Court. And that's why they're defending this one so hard. They're scared. And they know that what we've been talking about for the last 2 years of taking back our courts is working. And people are paying attention finally to the branch in this state that they have not paid attention to, that has also been wielded by Republicans to gerrymander our state, to deny public education funding in our state, to deny free and fair elections in our state, to take away representation from the people of North Carolina in our state. You know, taking our congressional representation from a 7-7 equal split and gerrymandering North Carolina to having a 10-4 minority when we are a 50-50 state. That shouldn't be legal in North Carolina, and it is under Republicans right now. Everybody can agree that we want a fair shot at the playing field when it comes to elections and that we deserve it as a party. And so what we're going to do this year is that we're going to fight hand and tooth and nail for municipal elections again. We're coming out to help all of our Democrats that are running, whether they be in nonpartisan races or not. The state party was able to give out free vote builder access to any candidate that ran in 2023 for us, and also free help with websites and digital assets and things that really make a local campaign pop out. So we're going to be able to do that again. And I'm very excited because we've got Mackenzie Reedy Bacon in the back, everybody, who is our phenomenal regional organizing director, and also someone that's been in your backyard with you, and someone that the state party wants to make sure that you all know is a resource to you. Mackenzie is a phenomenal organizer, lives in Cabarrus County. Don't hold it against her, I guess. You know, she might move down to Rowan, though, with a crowd like this, and if y'all really like her all that much. I don't know if her partner would allow for that, but maybe she would. I don't know. And I would just say on that note, Mackenzie's been such a rock for us to be able to help with GOTV. We are still going to be out knocking doors, holding Republicans accountable this year in every way, shape, and form, but also educating people about what Democrats are doing good for them, because we are going to have a lot coming out of our Attorney General's office and also our Governor's office this year with the ability to promote what Democrats can do for people in this state, and I'm excited to do it. So I'm sorry, I feel like I went up on a soapbox, but I wanted to let you all know about the court case that's going on, give you all a little bit of hope and the optimism about what I see on the state level right now, which is that we have fighting power and a good chance at making this state what we all know it can be again, which is a place where anybody, regardless of your zip code, can have the ability to grow up and grow old in it. And also the opportunity that you all have, and just to say thank you for the work that you did this last cycle. It made the difference in this state, and I hope you know that for generations to come, and I know that I see a lot of young faces, honestly, in this room, which surprises me, to be real with you. So I'm happy to see you here, and thank y'all for showing up and for being a part of this, because it's your future that we're fighting for, and it's our future that we're fighting for. And I know that North Carolina can be a place where you don't have to leave it, and that's what I really want to help make it. So thank y'all.
You know, and I want to say something. You referred to Mackenzie as being over there in Cabarrus County. No. We had her here. All the people who were out there canvassing. She set up all those stuff, and we had.
Living wise, you can't recruit her to run for office in Rowan County. You know what I mean?
Well, etc. But she was here for us in the 30 people that we had out canvassing in the last election. So, okay. Your question right here in front.
What do you need from us? And how can we help Riggs with money?
Oh my God, I love that question.
Yeah, no.
The NCDP is helping pay for our justices' legal bills, because that is a way, just to be very clear with everybody, we're trying to be smart with how we spend money. The North Carolina Dems can take unlimited amount of contributions from any person. So if you know folks that have not yet given to Justice Riggs herself, and through her website, you can also give to the North Carolina Dems at ncdp.org/donate. If you go on my website, though, it'll be the first thing that pops up, unfortunately, at you. Yes, sir, in the back, too.
Let me follow up on that question you asked. There's 420 challenged voters in Rowan County in that lawsuit. There's a list online of all those people. Those people stand up and say, what the heck happened to my vote? Do it publicly? Because around here, nobody's really listening to this, except for us watching TV and on the news. Those people, a lot of those people don't know that their vote has been challenged in court. There are 420 of them. I urge you, use the political machine to contact them and start raising hell.
On that fact, we're doing a phone bank every Thursday with the NCDP, and it is online. And we'll also give you a list from Rowan County, too. But the online list is called thegriffinlist.com for anybody that hasn't been to it yet or to see it.
elections.
How can you find out if you're on that list? Where do you go to find out your vote will count?
So if you are someone that's saying, is my vote in question right now, there's a website called thegriffinlist.com. You can go on there and you can search your name and see if you're on it. There is also, it's on the Board of Elections, usually that's posted, but there's also a couple different news outlets that have posted it too. So if you Google it, you should be able to find it. But thegriffinlist.com is the easiest website I can give you to give you the best description of everything. Yes, ma'am, back there in the back.
According to that website, the 425, 428, Rowan County, that website says that every one of them showed identification when they voted.
You had to. It's state law.
That should not be questioned.
No, I mean, it shouldn't. And this is the thing. These voters, Governor Cooper said it best. Somebody looked at him. There was a reporter. I was on a Zoom call with him. And they said, you know, what did these voters do wrong? What's wrong with them? Why are they all being challenged? And Governor Cooper said, there's nothing wrong with them. They're legal voters. It's what's wrong with Republicans. And I was like, I mean, my governor said it. You know, I agree with him right now. Yes, sir, Scott. One of our former candidates. Thank you so much, Scott Huffman, for running for office for us for this party. We appreciate you.
You know, I served in the military for 8 years, got to see a million places, million faces, and as a veteran, as an active duty member, I used the absentee ballot. And unfortunately, I'm really tired of the Republican Party telling us veterans how much they appreciated our service. If they truly appreciated our service, they would respect our right to vote from afar. And one of those who are being challenged right now is Captain Rebecca Lobach, who lost her life in that Black Hawk helicopter in D.C., and they're trying to nullify her vote. And as a veteran who served this country, and I hope my other fellow veterans are upset about this, okay? It's wrong. She gave her life to our country. That's what every one of these veterans do when they raise their hand and take that oath. And so I appreciate the leadership we have here, but we've got to also remember that they're coming after everything. The right to vote, even in our military. Okay, thank you.
You even had to, I mean, Governor Pat McCrory's PAC released an ad about this. There are Republicans that have said, you know, it's my vote too being challenged, and I even voted for Jefferson Griffin, and how wrong that this is and against the Constitution. I'm going to go to the woman in the purple or burgundy shirt in the back, and then I'll go to the man right there sitting down.
Just keep in mind that the Common Cause North Carolina rally next Sunday at 1:30 is nonpartisan. So if you have friends who are unaffiliated or registered Republicans and are upset about their vote, this is not going to be a party line rally. This is going to be a rally about the importance and the sanctity of our vote.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I retired from the profession on 20 years. You know how I cast my ballot? Absentee. Every time. Even when I was in Japan. Absentee ballot vote. That's how you do it. I was a voting officer. I had to go around and actually hand ballots to the people. Lisa Clark. Had to. So my question, the question I have for you is, how do we tweak our message enough to encourage more younger people? When you look at this crowd, there are young people scattered in here. How do we tweak our message so that millions of eligible voters in North Carolina that did cast a ballot, how do we encourage them to come out and cast ballots? Everybody votes, but nobody hears you until you cast a ballot. How is our message going to be tweaked to encourage people that this is our government and we are the people that make the decisions?
I mean, I think young people are not unlike any other voter. I think a lot of times we try to pin different categories of people in different pockets because it makes us feel like, okay, each person's got their own way of being talked to. But I'm like, no, I mean, voters aren't monolithic, and neither are young people as a block. Like, they care about the same issues that a lot of other folks did on a ballot this year, the cost of rent, you know, whether or not they were going to be able to pay their car bill. The fact about, you know, something I talked to young people a lot about on the campaign trail this year was the ACA, and the fact that, you know, I was 26 and still able to be on my parents' health insurance and how important that was to me, and the age demographic that we were missing for that, and which party gave us that, like which party has been the party that's actually cared about the health of young people, because the biggest demographic that was actually affected when the ACA got implemented, and the biggest you know, insurance gap that we had in this country was people under the age of 35. because they didn't have health insurance for such a long time. But that's not something that a ton of young people really remember, right? Because a lot of young folks grew up in this era of being under the Trump administration versus growing up. If you're a millennial in this house, you grew up under the era of a Barack Obama administration. And so how you come into politics, I think, really matters about how it shaped you. And young people have got to organize young people at the end of the day. And so one of the things that I know that Jeffrey's tried to do and that the Rowan County Young Dems have tried to do in that sense is get together a group of folks to actually talk to each other about politics. Because no offense, but like, they're not going to listen to the majority of the people in this room, I think, about it. They want to hear from people who look a little bit like themselves. And the statistic that I carried around with me this entire last year was the fact that young people are 60% more likely to turn out when there's a young person on the ballot, regardless of which political party they identify with. Young people crave the representation that we don't see right now anywhere in this party and also in government. And I say in this party because I look at the national level more so. And I think my hardship in this is getting people to stop looking so much up there and to look down here. Because in North Carolina, we've got a lot of young people that are in our party right now that are doing good work. You look at people like Chris Suggs, who is the youngest elected official. He's in Lenoir, and he's the city councilor in Kinston, but in Lenoir County. Dalton George is a city councilor in Boone right now. In Watauga County, you've got Preston Blakely and Fletcher. You have people that I think really represent the upcoming generation in our party right now, but you don't see those folks on MSNBC a lot or CNN a lot. And I think that one of the reasons why we've seen a lot of young people come to this party is because we've been able to build up our young Dems so much. And I give another shout out to Zach Finley for being able to help us with that, because North Carolina actually had one of the strongest programs this year for college organizing in the entire country. And that's because we kept building up those auxiliaries, but we're not done yet. And it is a fight that, you know, there's sort of this like idea after elections in about if we don't win a demographic over or if they don't vote for you in the meantime, it's like, oh, well, we forget about them. And that's the way that people have done rural voters for a long time in this party, to be real with you. People have been like, my God, we're never winning back rural North Carolina. We don't need to go out to it anymore. We need to just focus on one area. And that's like, when I got in this job, I was like, no, we still fight for every single vote because every voter is still somebody that's worth talking to. And that is why people have been disengaging with our party, is because there's only one person out there talking to them right now in communities that look like this. And thanks to you all in Rowan County, that's not the case. But in a lot of communities in our state right now, it is. And it's the same thing with young people. Like, we just got to keep coming back to them and keep bringing them to the table, keep showing them the representation, and keep that up. And it's the same thing I feel about all of our communities right now in our party that need to see more from us. But I feel like I should say, and I said it last night, I was at a human rights campaign event in Charlotte, and I looked at them and I said, I am really sorry, though, because I feel like our party did let people down this year. And at the federal level, I take that very seriously because I know that a lot of communities right now are under threat. I know a lot of people in this room right now feel scared, and I know that there is not something that can negate that feeling that I can say to a lot of people. The only thing that I know to say is that they're going to have to claw it from my cold, dead hands this election right here. They're going to have to say, they're going to have to come in and they're going to have to take it from my cold, dead hands. Like, they are going to have to come through me to get to anybody else in this party, in this state. And I'm like, I may not seem big and bad sitting up here to y'all, but y'all get me pissed off, and I'm a little firecracker, I promise. I can be. But I'm like, but I know that people need to see that more than ever this year. And that is what we're going to do in the General Assembly. That's why the state party is going to show up there every single month and pack the galleries. That is why we're going to be in the press. We're going to be talking to folks. The folks that are here in Rowan County, if you know anybody on that list, I encourage y'all to write the letters to the editor. I know that people think that y'all don't read the Salisbury Post anymore, but I do. So I'm like, you know, at least it's educating somebody in this community. But I think that matters about how we are also helping folks understand, to the point that was made earlier, these 67,000 voters are not just Democrats. They are every type of person in this community, and it could be you next, to be honest. So, question back? I'm sorry, John. I might not have time for it.
I just want to put a good news footnote on what you just said about reaching out to young people and running. This past week, a young person, 21, they'll be 22 by the time the election comes around. They spent a couple hours with Dottie and I trying to figure out the viability of them running for city council.
I'll also, I had someone that was, her name was Bryn, and she is out of Brunswick County, and she came to Goodwin House the other day and met with me in Raleigh because she was like, I want to run for Congress. And I was like, all right, but do you really want to be a member of Congress? Or like, are you just like, I want to run for Congress? She's going to run for Leland City Council instead. We're really excited about it. It's going to be our pipeline. We're building that one. Purple shirt right there in the back.
I know there were multiple lawsuits that Allison Briggs was fighting. Are we done? Are there still multiple lawsuits being fought, or is it down to one?
No, there's still multiple. And the hard thing is because the multiple involves, right, the RNC, the NCGOP, and Jefferson Griffin have filed one lawsuit. NCDP filed another, so they're like, throw out the ballots, right? NCDP comes in and says, save the ballots. Do not do that. Protect the voters. Both of those are in federal court. The State Board of Elections also has a lawsuit that is the one that the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals just ruled on the other day because technically the lawsuit that Jefferson Griffin filed in state court was not against Allison Riggs or the NCDP. It was against the State Board of Elections. And so the State Board of Elections had to come back and file a lawsuit and say, no, we did this correctly, and we're going to appeal this to the Fourth Circuit. Yes, Fourth Circuit, thank you, in my brain. And I'm like, and then Jeff Jackson had to intervene as the DOJ in that lawsuit because at one point in time, they were trying to take it through state court instead of going up to federal court. Jefferson Griffin had appealed, and the DOJ came in, and this is where it gets good to have a Democratic attorney general, right? He goes, wow, no, it's not state court, it's federal court, everybody, we're going back. It was one of the best moments of my life, truly. And I was like, one more for the guys. Also, because like the Republicans in the state legislature back in December were like, we're going to take away the attorney general's power to do anything. And we were like, maybe not. So they come back at us, right? And them being in federal court for that decision means that we don't have to directly appeal what the state Supreme Court, because we know that we're going to end up here. The state lawsuit that we're going through with Jefferson Griffin is still going to come back up. Wake County Superior Court decided they're going to appeal it to the Court of Appeals. We're going to appeal it to the Supreme Court. And then we're going to appeal it again once the Supreme Court potentially makes the decision in which they decide it's going to go 3-3. And when the Supreme Court goes 3-3, a lower court decision stands. So I know that gets really confusing. And the lower court decision in that case would be the Court of Appeals, right? Still bad. So we're going to appeal it. And we're going to go up, hopefully, instead of to the United States Supreme Court, to the North Carolina Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. This is what I mean when I say the fighting strategy that we have is not something that people can visibly see. It is something, though, that we have been strategizing with lawyers about for a very long period of time over the last 4.5 weeks. And we have the best and the baddest lawyers in the business, and they cost a lot of money, unfortunately. So that is also the thing that we have been working on over the last 2 months, is funding these lawsuits as well to make sure that the time and the energy that these law firms are spending on the different injunctions that we have to do. And the DNC saved us money in one of the injunctions that they came out with, and they're filing into. And so that was some of the help that we got from the national party, is not in the form of money coming directly to us, but them saving us money so that we didn't have to file an injunction in the lawsuit that's federally happening with the RNC and the NCGOP in Jefferson Griffin. But like I said, there's a lot of them happening all at once. The two that are most important, though, are the ones that's happening right now in Wake County Superior Court going up to Court of Appeals, and then the decision that came out last week from the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals that we could appeal this to them. I'm sorry that is so complicated, but also Republicans are trying to make it more complicated for us too, because they also want us to quit. And I should say that, because that is the thing of like, Sherry Beasley and other people did not have the opportunity in 2020 to help fight out her lawsuit. She didn't have the state party and the support to be able to do that then, at least in a financial sense. And that's not like to blame a state party, that's just to say it wasn't there. And we have spent a long time and a lot of strategic effort trying to build up the financial opportunity for us to be able to still fight for these votes like this. So I'm really thankful to everybody in this room too, because I know a lot of y'all have donated. I told the county parties this year, which I'm upset by myself about, but I was like, we didn't ask for sustaining fund fees last year. We're asking for them this year from my county parties, because I was like, I'm going to have a gap in my budget. And so all of my counties have been very kind and supportive of that. But I also told my rural parties if they are having problems with paying it, we will figure it out in that sense too. I'm not forcing anybody to do something they can't do right now that's going to break a bank account, but it is going to require some help for us to be able to do this. This lawsuit's going to cost us upwards of $3 million. Yeah, I've never seen that money in my life, I feel like, y'all too. This is what I'm like, yes, ma'am.
Hey, long-time fan. Not long-time, but, you know, yeah.
Kind angel.
Since your first interview on Pod Save America. And so just about, like, community, like, I need to know, right, as a Democrat, that there is this, like, $3 million deep dive, well-researched, approach to these, like, deep issues of democracy, right? And, like, widely, though, I'm an elder millennial. I'm, like, the eldest millennial. And in the last, like, the first election I could vote in was Gore Bush. And then 9/11, right? And one thing that I feel like I have observed in my adulthood, and I don't know, but definitely since Trump, like, right? So, like, for the last almost 10 years now, is a steady and true decline in it being okay to talk about politics, right? Like, it is the chilling. I mean, first of all, like, the fact that, like, where are Democrats, like, there's this deep stuff going on. And also, like, we're heartbroken, right? We're all heartbroken. And if you're not heartbroken, then, like, I don't know, if you love your country or the Democratic Party or North Carolina, like, you're heartbroken. Even though there are reasons to be optimistic in North Carolina, right? Like, that work is not in vain at all. And that's so important to remember and hold on to. But, like, communications wise, you know, like, I don't, maybe in my teens or 20s, I felt fine being, like, sassy and loud at work about politics, and that is not okay now, you know, like, so, like, but social study, I don't know what social studies class looks like right now in high school, but it's not pretty, I'm sure, and it's not going to be prettier. I mean, we've got to really, really, really fight for, like, civics education, the return of civics education if we get out of this Trump hole. But we have to, the chilling effect, like, some of that chilling effect is their intention and is a tactic, right? To get us to be, and it's also a tool of fascism. It's also a fascist tactic to, like, be, you know, nihilism, right? But somehow it's got to be cool again to talk about politics at school, hospitals, work. And when it is when people are going to have some, like, class unity, party unity, and, like, actually, you know, do the work that will matter. It's got to be okay to talk about it again.
Yeah, I think that one thing you're going to find right now is that Republicans are really good at setting culture. And that's something that our party is sucked at. And it is not cool, I would say, or per se right now, to maybe be a Democrat, right, in terms of the zeitgeist in which we're living in, especially amongst younger people. And part of that, I think you can look to, it's not just about the message, it's about the messenger, right? And a lot of times the party picks the messenger. And we, I think, have got to look to people in the future, and especially at the local level and our pipeline that we're building, at people that can set a different culture, but that also can communicate one too. And I think that is something where Republicans right now have just dominated. And part of that's because, like, they have had 40, 50 years of building a media ecosystem, right? That, like, Thomas Mills is a great person, I think, and sort of a political, like, strategist and mindset. He said something in a blog post recently that was like, man, when Democrats were out there buying TV ads, Republicans were buying TV stations. And I was like, yeah. And right now, the only way that I know to combat a Republican media infrastructure like that, while Democrats are getting our asses together and building one on our side, is the fact that we've got to infiltrate theirs. And that means that there's got to be opportunities for us to have, Republican podcasts and talk shows and things like that we don't have to be afraid to go on. It was actually the gentleman right there in the green vest looked at me and he said, I heard you on Mike Collins not too long ago. And I was like, yeah, Charlotte talks ain't friendly to me. You know what I mean? Like, as a Democrat, they never are. but it's something I'm not afraid to do. And I think that we have got to be in spaces, even like state lines. I did that the other week, and I'll be honest with y'all, it was sitting there well, the thing was though, is I was sitting there with like 4 other people though, who to me were just like, and yeah, you know, Republicans are, you know, private school vouchers are going to take away about $300,000 out of the school system, and yeah, that's what's going to happen. And you know, today the weather looks nice also, and I was just like, are y'all crazy? Like, has no one just like realized what you just said seemed absolutely insane to me? But it's like you're living in this world sometimes where we have not had people that will call it out, that it's just like it is the graviest thing. And so my challenge to all of you is that you do need to be the loud ass in your job and everywhere else if you feel comfortable being so. I'm not asking anybody to go out there and get themselves fired, to be real with you. But I do think like our ability to stand up and push back also is the place of where, how are you doing that too? And like, I'll do it with you any day, and everybody's got to give me a call. But I'm like, I think that our party at the national level too has got to set an echo chamber for that right now. And I think that we're getting our shit together some ways in that. But I know here at the state level, at least, like there is not a person that is not willing to go out there and message in hard places, at least for representatives in our party. So I hear you on a lot of it, though. It's not wrong by any means. I might not be the best answer to that question either, but what I got?
More.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You know, next election cycle, we have a chance to create a Democratic senator, because I don't know, Tom Tillis said he wasn't going to run, but he could change his mind. Are you looking at a candidate that could be super competitive? Because lately Tillis has kind of fallen off the Republican hard track.
The question was about, do we have a candidate for Senate in 26 for the Democrats yet? I think we got a lot of great options, as y'all just heard echo throughout this crowd. And the Democratic Party doesn't take much to everybody's like, what do you mean y'all don't do this? We don't get involved in primaries. And I promise you, if it looks like we're getting involved in primaries, it ain't me that's getting involved in a primary or this state party that's getting involved in a primary, because we do not do that as a party. We try to let you all, as my voters, pick the person that you all think is going to best represent you in this party. And that may mean Governor Cooper, that may mean Wiley Nickel. A lot of folks have asked me, though, if either one of those two folks do not decide to run, who do we have? And I'm like, the great thing about North Carolina and what y'all did this last election cycle, you elected a bench of people on our Council of State that can run for statewide offices. And you should feel very proud of the fact that Republicans in North Carolina ain't got one. None of those House or Senate members that they got. Phil Berger ain't running for governor. Y'all crazy. Like, I mean, genuinely. He got power, but he ain't got no chance at running statewide in North Carolina. And I think that North Carolinians, at least our party, should feel very proud of that. The thing that we have got to get back to at a local level is creating that same bench and being able to make sure that we've got a consistent pipeline and ensuring that people that know the difference between a local budget and a state budget and what should be coming out from our federal budget and our county budget levels, like, those are important things for us to have when you think about governing in a state right now. So we got some good people. I'll be honest with y'all too. I got to hop on a Zoom call that started at 11 o'clock that I am missing right now, which I apologize for. So I'm going to hit people on the way out. And then I know Jeffrey Hoy's got some stuff, and then I'm going to try to pop back in right here at the end. But I got to at least see where the Zoom call is at. I'm not going to lie. And I'm very sorry about it. Yes, sir.
One more.
Take it in. What's the way? What you got?
Full disclosure, I'm unaffiliated.
I love that. Welcome to Dems and Friends today, my friend.
And I think the enthusiasm is wonderful, and I think the approach to go bottoms up is wonderful. How many people here have read Project 2025?
You in the right room to ask that question, trust me.
The veteran who took the pledge, and we now have a president that doesn't appreciate the pledge.
Thank you for your service.
We've got 4 years. I think we've got 2. Because they've got a president that says there will be no more elections. So I think every one of us has to figure out what we're going to do to win this country back in 2026, starting Thursday.
Yeah, you're going to organize your precinct. Because I'm going to tell you what, again, every single vote that we can get out in a statewide election, especially in the midterms. And I know that y'all didn't see it necessarily at the federal level this year. This was not a field margin of an election. Every single other one in North Carolina always has been, though, especially in our midterms. Yes, sir, Pink Hat.
Just waving.
Oh, well, hey. Thanks for waving at me. But organizing our precincts, I hear you on the severity of this, and also the reason why we see a Trump administration moving as fast as we do right now is because of the fact that he's got unchecked power from Congress, right? And the fact is that our judicial system is the only branch of government that is actually formulating a check on him right now in some form or fashion, but is still letting egregious shit go through too.
What
Yes,
about
ma'am.
three special elections that could win us back the seat? 2 in Florida, 1 in Maryland?
The party is involved with those. I mean, I know especially from the Democratic perspective at the national level. I'll be real with y'all. North Carolina's going to North Carolina this year, though. I'm going to let some other states in the South that have the ability to maybe move power down there who don't have that type of elections going on in it. We have got, out of the 50 top municipalities in the state right now in North Carolina this year that Democrats should hold the races of, we have got 17 flips for city councils and mayoral races across those 17 communities, or across the top 50, but 17 communities where we should have flips in. And so our party is going to be focused on making sure we're building collective democratic power where we should have it, and that way it's going to make it easier for someone to win our Senate race in 26 when they've got people that can go out there and organize and mobilize their communities to come out for the top of the ticket too. So it is a bottom-down approach. I appreciate y'all so much. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.